Richard Dawkins' website, which is brilliant, I think, has got a very lively forum. I very occasionally post comments on the forum, not terribly often, but I do read it pretty regularly. And what's slightly surprising, I think, about that forum is that Dawkins himself occasionally makes contributions. I say it's unusual because I think it's not often that an author or just a public figure of that standing would make that kind of contribution at that level, which it's great. It's very encouraging, that, I think. But what's slightly surprising, I think, about some of the contributions that Dawkins has made recently is how kind of personally critical they are. I mean, they're not really ad hominem attacks or anything like that, but he clearly has no time at all for people like Karen Armstrong and theologians more generally, which is fine. It's within his gift to spend his time when he wishes. But he's very kind of critical. I think he used a word like foolish, and cites someone else referring to that kind of writing as masturbation, I think, at one point he says. And that's, these are kind of harsh words, really. It's quite odd, really. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. I mean, partly, I know it's absolutely appropriate and part of the course within academic circles to make those kind of comments. But they're usually only made between academics in the same field. You know, I mean, I've been to a few academic conferences and I've been kind of involved in that world before. So, and it's seen all the time. You know, a biologist will slag off another biologist, or a historian of a particular period of history will slag off another historian who has competing versions of that particular period of history, whatever it is. Whenever there's an academic debate, particularly if it's a closely argued debate about some of the finer points of a specific discipline, it does often get a bit personal, and that's just part of the argy-bargy of academic life, I think. But what's odd about this Richard Dawkins thing is that Karen Armstrong isn't a biologist. She's not working in anything like the same field that Dawkins is. She's, I guess, a theologian, but more really a history of theology, a historian of theology than a theologian herself. And, whether you like her writing or not, and I like some of it, and I'm not too keen on other bits of it, it's not biology, it's not science, it's not in the discipline. So it's a little bit odd that someone, particularly someone of Dawkins' standing, would, as I say, make those kind of critical personal remarks about something that's outside of his discipline. It just feels like a breach of protocol, really, I suppose. But I think the more significant point is really to do with where those fields overlap, because in a sense they are very different. She's writing on theology or history of theology, and he's writing on biology, which in the face of it don't overlap. They're not. I'm not claiming a kind of non-overlapping magisteria thing, but just they tend not to occupy the same textbooks, or they tend not to occupy the same platform of discussion. But occasionally they do, and I think it's the occasionally they do bit that's a bit odd. Now clearly when they do overlap in a way which is detrimental to one or the other, or usually both, like for example in creationist literature, or in that's probably the best example, in that kind of thing where the claims of one discipline will attempt to undermine the claims of the other. Clearly that's a huge problem, and something's got to give, and quite rightly it should give in favour of what the empirical evidence supports. But I think there are other overlaps which are potentially destructive or potentially not destructive, but aren't really referred to quite so much. And the best example I've got from that is this book here, The Sacred Depths of Nature, by Ursula Goodenough. It's an interesting book, actually. I was referred to it by 2B Sirius in the first instance some time ago. Although it is referred to, and this is one of the things I find interesting about it, it is referred to in the opening chapter of one of Richard Dawkins' books. He refers to this book himself, and she cites Dawkins quite a bit in it. And what this book is it's a kind of review of evolutionary biology, beautifully written, interspersed with, what can only really be called religious musings and meditations. The idea being that you look at the natural world as described by evolutionary biology in this case, and apply some of the kind of emotional, I suppose, responses, really, that's the only way I can describe them, that are more usually associated with religion. So reverence and the ideas of the sacred and these kind of things are applied to the world, as I say, as described in all its strangeness by evolutionary biology. So, as I said, it has those two aspects to it. So it's an idea, it's an overlap, but not in a kind of destructive way, or not perceived as being in a destructive way in the way that creationist literature is, because it doesn't make alternative truth claims about origins, for example. But it's still an overlap. It still is a fusing of the empirical science of biology with some of the attitudes and emotional engagements that that are traditionally associated with religious practices. I suppose what's funny about that for me, it isn't that it exists. I mean, it's perfectly fine. Sometimes I like reading it, sometimes I'm quite frustrated by it. It's that Dawkins appears to be completely in support of this. I mean, I can only assume it's because it's not making those alternative truth claims that creationist literature does. So it doesn't do the non-overlapping magisteria thing in a way which which allows for the possibility of conflict. It blends these magisteria in a way which is supportive to both sides, apparently. Although I don't know what religious people think of this book. So I just suppose it's odd, really, because if you just read the religious bits and ignore the biology, if you just skip the biology bits and just read the meditations and reflections, it reads like a piece of Karen Armstrong's writing. There's lots of references to reverence and the sacred, and the whole last chapter is called Emergent Religious Principles, and talking about the credo, stuff about gratitude. It's very odd, really, that Dawkins likes this one, but finds Karen Armstrong problematic. I don't know, really. I don't think about that. I guess I don't know Karen Armstrong's writing well enough. I don't think in any of her writing she's ever supporting anti-scientific ideas. I don't think so. And if the idea is that she and other people who are writing in that way are giving what's sometimes called kind of tacit support or covert support for more radical religious ideas, then I would have to say, well, how come Actually Goodenough isn't doing that then? How come she isn't providing cover for more radical ideas? Is it because of the lack of conflict between the science and the religious writing? Or is there something else going on? I don't know.